Hey, what's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the John Coaxum Podcast, where I discuss actionable relationship counsel. Now, you may be wondering on the dating scene right now why you're not getting a lot of play, a lot of attention, nobody's calling you back. Whatever the situation is, you may be wondering about that. I think I may have something that can help you in this episode. Now, I know it's been a little while since the last episode, but we're getting right back on track and continuing in our series on dating principles. And today, this is dating principle number 3, right? So if you're finding it hard to continue on in some relationships or pursuing some interests or even landing a date, there's a question that I want to ask you, and it's right there for those of you who are watching. It's on the screen. I want to put it in the form of a question. What are you communicating to the opposite sex? It may actually boil down to the fact of you are communicating something that maybe you didn't intend on communicating, because whether we realize it or not, you're always communicating something, right? Through your words, your silence, your outfit, what you may do in the public or what you don't do. So you have to kind of ask yourself today, what message are you sending? And is it the message that you actually want to send? Let's get into it. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Please, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So you're saying to yourself, "Yo, I've tried all the dating apps. I'm on social media. I'm at church. I'm showing up in different places, but I'm not getting calls back. Nobody's looking my way. I'm not getting the attention that I want." Could it be that it's maybe has something to do with how you're communicating or what you're communicating to the opposite sex? Now, I got a question that I want to ask you right here at the front end of this episode. Do you want to eventually be married, or do you just want to have a good time? Okay. Do you want to actually be married or in some kind of committed relationship at some point in your life with your significant other with the opposite sex? Or do you want to just have a good time? Now, I know I'm a pastor and a spiritual leader and stuff like that, but no judgment here. It's all on you, right? I just want to know, which one do you want? Because if you just want to have a good time and possibly like not be taken seriously or never be taken seriously, then you don't even have to listen to the rest of this episode. You can actually skip this one and move on to the next one. But if you actually do want to be married at some point in your life, then you have to accept that you are sending signals, and those may not be the signals that you actually want to send. So let's unpack this, right? So a lot of people think that communication is all about what they say. It may surprise you to understand and know that according to studies, actually over 90% of communication is actually nonverbal. So 90% of what you're communicating to other people, your significant other, a potential significant other, actually has nothing to do with the words that are coming out of your mouth. It's nonverbal cues that you're sending, such as, tone, facial expressions, body language, even the choices that you make that other people can see. All of this is sending messages. So today in this episode, I want to take a quick look at 4 areas where you might be unconsciously broadcasting messages to the opposite sex, and then I'm going to split men and women apart and tell you the signals that generally men and women want to see. But here are the 4 messages, right, that you may be unwittingly, unconsciously broadcasting. Speech and conversation, absolutely, right? So we obviously know that words plays a part in communication, but did you know that your dress and your appearance also communicate something to the opposite sex, and maybe not what you want? Body language, in other words, your presence, the way you use your hands, your body movements, whatever, your lifestyle, and even your lifestyle choices. And for each one today, I want to help you reflect on this simple question: is what I'm communicating attracting the kind of attention that I actually want? So let's get into it. What do your words reveal? All right, let's start with speech. Think about how you talk in dating or in a relationship setting. Are you overly self deprecating, which means that you sort of put yourself down? You're laughing at yourself, talking about how incompetent you may be over and over again. Are you constantly apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, even when really there doesn't seem to be anything to apologize for? Do you interrupt? Actually talked about this in my free guide, and you can go to my website johncoxum.com and get this and get why your partner isn't hearing you, because interrupting is the number one thing on the list that causes people not to hear you and sort of tune out. Particularly for men, it's seen as very disrespectful. Do you brag a lot? Do you overshare too soon or open up doors to your life that nobody really wanted to see or hear at this point, and all of your stuff starts to spill out? Do your words communicate confidence, insecurity, values, or even does it give people a window into your past? Right? So let me give you a few examples. If you always talk about how all men and all women are trash, guess what? You're actually communicating bitterness and unresolved hurt. This is not just you saying something out there into the wind. When the opposite sex gets wind of the fact that you think that all men are trash, well, then they automatically assume, well, there's some wound. She's been hurt at some point in their life, right? When all women hear you talk about all women are trash, well, they think about, you being hurt. There's something unresolved that is there. And who would want to be with a person, right, who constantly is talking or painting with a broad brush, the opposite sex? If you name drop your accomplishments constantly, you may be perceived as trying to prove your worth instead of letting it speak for itself, right? So, in other words, you're a person who doesn't really believe that they are worthy, but you're trying to project that you are worthy, and people pick up on that through the words that you say. Now, on the flip side, if you barely share anything, you could be communicating emotional unavailability, or you actually have something to hide, right? So if you never open up, you're never even the slightest bit vulnerable, or talk anything about your life, that may be a red flag for the opposite sex as well. So here's a quick tip when it comes to your speech and the words that you use. Next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, what's the emotional tone behind what I'm saying? Am I inviting connection, right? Or am I creating distance by the words that I'm saying? Am I inviting a potential significant other into my life? Or am I pushing them away by the words that I am saying? Your speech communicates, obviously, a lot, and you have to pay attention to that too. And it may be one of the reasons why some dates have not gone well, you haven't gotten a call back, or you're not progressing in the way of a committed relationship. All right. Also, um, your style speaks volumes, right? So let's talk about how you dress. Now, listen, this is not about judging your wardrobe. As a matter of fact, I'm probably the last person on earth who could judge anybody's wardrobe. I'm from the South, and generally, Southern people, wardrobe is not at the top of our list. We may not be the best dressers in America, but I'll just speak for myself. I'm just not. I'm just not a fashion person. I'm just not into stuff like that. Thank God for my wife. So this is not about judging your wardrobe. It's about awareness, right? Your clothing, your grooming, your style, all of this sort of sends a message to the opposite sex when you are out in the world as well. It can send a message of class, right? Like you're a classy lady or a classy man. You can walk into a room and you're well put together, and people can clearly see that you're well put together. It can communicate confidence, or it could also communicate promiscuity. Now, wait, before you turn off this episode, listen for a minute as to why I say this. Now, I'm not saying that dress should automatically be attached to promiscuity, right? I don't think that. I don't believe that. I don't think every person that has on tight clothes, or is maybe a little more revealing than the average person, is necessarily a promiscuous person. But that's not the point, right? Because what you're thinking about is reality. You're saying, well, John, yeah, I may wear revealing things because I just like to wear it and stuff like that, and that's fine. That's your reality. But we're talking about people's perspective now. And in the perspective of society, many times when the opposite sex is looking at you and what you're wearing, they're making judgment calls, right? And I know it's very comfortable and comforting in our society for people to assume that, well, I can just be myself and wear whatever I want or whatever, but but you need to know that what you wear communicates something to just as much as your words. So it's not about your dress automatically being attached to promiscuity, but it's more about being able to accept and acknowledge what society thinks about certain types of dress and understanding that the person that you are pursuing may have those same perceptions as well. Right? So, do you dress like you actually respect yourself or are you hiding, right? You have to think about all of that when you're putting on your clothes if you're trying to pursue someone or you want someone to pursue you. Now, some of you right now are ready to hop off this train and just like, yo, this is too much. I can't be doing all this. I'm going to live my life. God's going to have the right person for me. Everything is going to work out. And I'm saying, okay, I get it. I'm with you. I want you to be yourself, but you also have to think about what the person you wants from you. What does the opposite sex that you want from you? And you have to align yourself with that. So, question again, are you attracting attention to the parts of you that align with your values or to something else entirely? Right? Is your dress communicating a message that I am this type of woman, that I am this type of man, that I have this type of lifestyle, right? And you have to think about that. For example, right? Someone who's always in sweatpants may actually be saying, I'm low effort or I don't want to be noticed, right? So listen, they may not like literally be saying that or want to communicate that, but for the opposite sex, that's what they may be picking up. Oh, they don't dress up. They're not a classy person. They don't like to do certain things. Whatever that means, they somebody may think that. Someone always dressed to impress might be saying, "Hey, I need people to validate me." Again, this is not about shame. This is about you as a person who wants to be with someone being intentional about how you dress and how you show up. So ask yourself, what does my appearance communicate even before I say a word? And let me just kind of give you, I mean, I don't know, short example, like, when I wear a suit, like my wife is like happy when I'm well put together and I actually try to put on a really nice outfit because most of the time I'm that guy. Like I don't mind wearing sweats and some Adidas joggers or whatever and some tennis shoes and making a run to the store and doing the stuff that I want to do. But my wife really likes it when I dress up. She can tell when I'm just like throwing on clothes and when I'm putting an outfit together, it communicates something to her. In fact, she would joke sometimes like, yo, who are you going out there to meet or whatever, right? And so when you think about your dress and you're going out into the world and you want a man to pursue you or you want to be pursued or you want to pursue a young lady, at the end of the day, your dress does matter and it communicates something. So pay attention to that as well. Now this next one is huge, right? We're talking about oof, body language, body language, body language. All right. So do do you make eye contact, right? Do you make eye contact, right? And I understand that, for many of us, that may not be our MO. That may not be something that we're used to. Maybe we didn't even grow up with that in our family. We don't, make eye contact or in our culture, whatever the situation is. But I do know for a lot of women, it can communicate shyness when you don't make eye contact with them, right? And of course, women tend to be big on confidence, which we'll discuss in just a moment. But eye contact could be something like you can't look at me in my eye at any point or whatever. That may communicate something. Do you smile? Now, this is massive and this is huge, okay? Do you smile? And I hear this a lot from the men when they talk about women is that a smile immediately makes them more approachable, right? So by you not smiling out in the world and, not looking like you are ready to be approached or that there's some level of happiness in your life, a lot of men feel like that's the worst possible time that they don't want to approach a woman like that. And I'm not trying to put the burden on women to smile all the time, 24/7, 365, but sort of pay attention to your face. And men as well. This is not just for women. Men and well as well. We want to look right and present as if we are approachable and that when we approach that we won't be shot down in the rudest way possible, I guess, right? Also when you're talking, right, talking to people, are your arms crossed? Is your posture open? There's something called solar. You can look that up. Something we learned when I was getting my master's in counseling about how we're supposed to sit open, right? So that when we're talking to someone, they can automatically perceive that we are invested in what they're saying, right? Do you lean in when someone speaks, or do you lean away? Right. And you should know that people can actually read your energy. And I'm not big on that word energy. I just don't have a better word right now. People are really like big on your energy. Even before they consciously know you or get to know you, they can kind of feel, by your body language, how you're moving, your facial expressions, if you are an approachable person. So someone looking at their phone, their arms crossed, someone who's always scanning the room, it might communicate that you're uninterested or that you're not emotionally available at that moment. Okay. And also, let's not forget touch. And breeze by this. Are you too touchy too soon? Or are you completely distant? I mean, all of this communicates something. So pay attention to your body language when you're out there in the world as well. So ask yourself this question: does my presence and my body language communicate openness and approachability, right? So you maybe go out into the world, and in your mind right now, you may be thinking, man, I want a man to pursue me. I want him to come and ask for my number. You may be a guy and, wanting to approach a young lady or whatever, but everything about your body language actually says the opposite, right? So we have to pay attention to these things, because this could be killing our dating prospects, our potential marriage and significant other prospects, if we're not paying attention to our body language. It's important. Okay. I don't have time to go through all of that, but let's go to the next one: lifestyle. And this is the last one before we split apart men and women real quick. Let's talk about lifestyle. Your life choices are speaking, and they're speaking loudly. Okay. What does your routine say about your priorities? Right? Your routine, what you do when you wake up in the morning, what do you do at night, where you go, your basic routine. If someone were to follow you around for a day or a couple days, what things would they immediately list as your priority? So if someone followed you around and you didn't know that they were following you, what would they say about you? Would they say that, does your social media scream, party life or purpose driven? You have to think about these things. And I know that for many of us, we're thinking, well, my past should not matter. You can believe that all you want, but in reality, for men and women, your past matters. It matters, right? What you do on a day-to-day basis communicates something to the person you may want to pursue, or the person that is pursuing you, and it may not be what they want. So you have to think about, okay, I want this kind of guy, I want this kind of woman. And so, what do I need to communicate? Because I know that this kind of woman would want this type of guy, or this type of man would want this type of woman. You have to think about that. And let me give you an example, and not to use women exclusively in this example, but it's just one that immediately came to mind. A woman, a wife, a woman who eventually wants to become a wife, wants to become a stay-at-home mother, right? And she wants to be nurturing and have this, nice life where she's bringing up kids and go to church and stuff like that all the time, and thinking of this, beautiful, very spiritual, nice marriage and nice home. But right now on her social media, like, everything is like partying and going to the club and doing all these types of things. And by the way, again, I don't judge. Whatever you want to do is what you want to do. But you have to understand that a man who is going out into the world, who is looking for that stay-at-home mom, who wants to create that nice, nurturing, spiritual home and atmosphere, may look at her now and turn the opposite way, because her life choices and her lifestyle are communicating that she may never be what he wants her to be, even though she has the capacity and the potential to be that. I hope you're catching what I'm saying. Another thing is, are you constantly busy, right? Never having time for anyone. That says something as well, right? To the opposite sex, and someone who may want to pursue you, because they may think that you are a person who doesn't put relationships very high on your priority list, that everything comes before that. Do you invest in your growth, right? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. People who are looking for someone to be with, they're looking at these things, right? They're looking at your physical health, your physical presentation. They're looking at you, emotionally. What is your range of emotion? Are you a spiritual person? And this extends beyond going to church, right? Or going to Bible study or the small group, but maybe just do you love God? Right? Can you pray for me? Can we pray together? They may be looking for these things. I don't know what type of person you're looking for, but you have to consider all of these things when you consider your lifestyle. Now, people often say they want a deep healthy connection, but their life appears to communicate otherwise. People tend to think, and I hope this is not you, that, man, I could just live any way I want and do whatever I want. And then this good person is going to come into my life and we're going to be a good match. But the reality is that person that you're wanting to come into your life is looking at you and maybe thinking, hey, right now, especially you're not a good match. So if your world is chaotic, you may be unintentionally telling potential partners there's no room for you here. Or if your life is overly rigid and scheduled, you may be communicating, I don't know how to make space for someone else. And if your life is overly, party driven and high octane, you may be communicating, I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. You need to think about these things and, process and look at your social media and what you are presenting to the world. So here's a takeaway for your lifestyle. Your habits and your lifestyle are either inviting someone in or they actually may be keeping someone out. Now, here's the thing I'm really excited about today. When men and women are dating with the intent of finding a spouse, I need you to understand that they are often looking for different signals, right? So we've established that there are different ways that we communicate different things and we signal different things to the opposite sex. But I want to be clear on these are just generalities here about often what men want communicated to them and what women want communicated to them. So let's talk about men first. What do men want communicated to them? So if you're a young lady or a woman, you need to listen up right here because this is tailor fitted just to you. Okay. So, number one, what men generally want communicated to them is, first of all, respect and admiration. Men often value feeling respected and appreciated for who they are and what they bring to the table, especially their drive, purpose, and their competence. Men want to be appreciated for that. They want to be admired and they want to be respected. It's not always arrogance. It's not always ego. Again, it's kind of how God has wired us. Respect is very, very high on the list of priorities for men, and I can speak to that from my own personal experience. I want respect more than anything else. I want to be, the man in my marriage and in my home and in my relationship. I want my wife to admire, the sacrifices that I make and the drive and my purpose and my knowledge base. I want all of these things, and so you have to recognize that this is what men want communicated to them. And if you happen to communicate disrespect, you may have ended the relationship before it even really gets started. Number two, men actually do want, in my experience, they want emotional warmth, right? A woman who communicates kindness, warmth, and emotional availability. This often stands out for a man when it comes to a potential life partner. They want somebody who's warm, somebody they can, talk to, somebody who is kind. I've heard a lot of men say a woman who basks in her femininity or accepts or owns her femininity. Number three is supportiveness, right? Many men are drawn to women who show that they support their dreams, that they won't just try to compete with them, someone who can be a teammate in life. Men don't necessarily like that. We're already competitive by nature, right? We're competitive with other men. I heard someone say once that between men, there's always this low threat of violence between us at all times, right? And so men don't necessarily want to be paired with someone who they have to competed with and have to have a threat of violence, obviously, with. They want a teammate, someone who's going to be supportive of their dreams and their desires and also help them get there. Stability and peace. Number four, what men want communicated to them. Men are looking for a spouse often looking for a spouse often seek emotional peace. Men who are looking for a spouse often seek emotional peace and someone who brings balance, right? Not drama into their life. So, even for some of you maybe listening right now who are married, you may be wondering, you know, why in the world do we see men sometimes after they come home from work, they just sit in the car in the driveway for a little bit? Men are seeking peace. They need a moment to decompress from their work day. They broke their back that day, delivering stuff and working and whatever else they were doing. And we know that women need that too, but we're just talking about men here. Men value peace highly. And when they think about their future home as they project into the future, they are looking for a wife that can create that for them and a woman who will bring stability and emotional peace for them so that there can be balance in the home. We are averse to drama. As men, okay? We're completely averse to it. We don't want any part of the chaos or anything like that. We want peace, especially when we come home. Men will be looking for that. Number five is physical attraction and personal care. While attraction is important to both genders, right? Men often interpret personal presentation and grooming as signs of confidence and intentionality, right? So physical attraction, again, is very high on the list for men, but also it extends into personal care. And so if men see a woman who may not have the best hygiene, who may not be taking care of herself the right way, it is a sign and a signal. Yeah, this is probably not the woman that I want to be with because she's not even intentional about her own physical appearance and her presence. And then finally, number six for men is belief in him, which really goes back to the supportiveness and the respect. But many men feel drawn to women who genuinely sort of believe in their potential. Watch this, even before they have arrived. So this speaks deeply to a man's sense of legacy and a man's sense of worth, right? So not that a woman is pursuing a man or wanting to be with a man because eventually he will be this thing, and we're holding that over his head. But men really feel drawn to a woman who believes in him right now, that whatever his dreams are, like, yeah, you're going to get there. And I believe it. But you're a great man even now. You're awesome just the way you are. This communicates that she believes in him, and a man will be automatically drawn to you if you're a woman, if you can exemplify these things. All right, let's get to the ladies real quick. So, what women often want communicated to them. So, fellas, if you're listening, this is for you. This is what women often want communicated. Number one, they need safety and security, right? This includes emotional safety, right? They want to know if hopefully they want to know that you're not going to go ghost on them. You're not going to lash out. They want to be physically safe. They don't want to be in an aggressive presence. They want a non-aggressive presence. And they also, women tend to project in the future a lot. And what they want is they want future security, right? So yes, finances is a part of that. But they also want someone who is dependable, right? I remember when my wife was moving, we were still dating, and she had called some guys to help her, and they didn't show up, or they didn't do a good job, or whatever the situation was. She called me. I made a beeline over there. I helped her. I got her stuff moved in immediately, quickly, all in a day's time. Did it by myself. Helped her. Got the thing done. And I remember, like, from that day, she said that it communicated to her that I was dependable, right? She knew off that. It was like one thing, another thing, like kind of checked off her list, that I was a dependable person and that she could trust me in the long run. So for men, please understand that this is what women are looking for. They're looking for that security and that safety. Number two, they're looking for intentionality. Women often want to feel that a man is clear about his interests, his goals, and where he sees things going, not just vibing or keeping it casual forever. They want to know intentionality. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to know on the first date, hey, I'm going to marry you, or even the second or third, I don't know. But as time goes on and you're spending time together, I would think that the communication of intentionality should be better communicated over time, right? The more time you're spending together, the more information you're gathering, and therefore you should be able to communicate to her whether you want to stay with her long term or not. Number three is emotional availability. Can he talk about his feelings is what women really want to know. We understand that men men, may not be the best at communicating our feelings. At this point, we understand that we're wired a little bit differently, but she wants to know that you can at least be available, right? That you can hold space for her without shutting down or getting defensive. This is crucial for long-term connection, and women need that. They need to talk about their feelings. They need to share how they feel. So this is important. Number four, leadership and vision. It is my belief, as someone, a man of faith, and someone who believes in the Bible and how God has ordered the earth and wired men and women, that men should be by nature's leaders. It doesn't mean that we're in the C-suite of a CEO company or anything like that. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers and we don't make mistakes. But I think men by nature are designed to lead. Many women want to see that. They want to see that a man has direction, discipline, that he has the ability just to lead, the ability, even if he hasn't figured that out yet, right? He has the ability to lead, and not in a controlling, manipulative way, but with clarity and with purpose. He's able to do that. Number five is maturity and accountability. A man who owns his past, takes responsibility for his actions, and is actively growing communicates that he is husband material, right? So no woman wants to marry a boy, right? She wants someone who's mature and who's accountable and can show that he is husband material. And finally, number six, consistency over flash, right? So flowers are nice, guys. They're nice, but consistency actually builds trust. So even if it's not flowers, if it's just you showing up or giving your time, all of this is important because, see, what women often watch, they watch for follow through. Yeah. They watch for attention to detail and how a man shows up over time. So it's not just, giving a gift every once in a while and you're sort of banking that and saying, well, that should carry me to next year and the year after. Listen, I'm married and I've been married for almost 10 years. And there's still stuff that I have to do to maintain consistency, to let my wife know that I do love her and to keep the connection strong. All right. So I hope you got something out of this today. I want you to know that what you are communicating is critical, right, to your dating life and who you want to be with at some point in your life. And you may find that you're not getting as much attention or your dating life is not going very well because you may be sending some bad signals. So, what are you communicating to the opposite sex? Here's your challenge for this week. And here's the ARC principle. There's been a lot throughout it, but here's the ARC one, okay? The Actionable Relationship Counsel, something you can put into practice today, tonight, immediately, so that you can be better prepared for any future relationships. I want you to pick one area. Pick one area, just one. Speech, dress, body language, or lifestyle. And here's what I want you to do. I should create a worksheet on this. I want you to audit it. I want you to audit one of these areas. I want you to audit the words that come out of your mouth and how you generally speak. I want you to audit the way that you dress. I want you to audit your body language or your lifestyle. And here's a way that you can do that so you can get help with it. You can ask a trusted friend for honest feedback or take a moment to sort of journal what you think you're projecting versus what you really want to project. Because here's the good news about everything that I've said. You can change your message. You can change your message, right? And when you become intentional about your communication, you may just start attracting people who are more aligned with your values and with your vision. All right, everybody. I hope you got something out of this in this episode today. Listen, before you go, don't forget to rate and subscribe to this podcast. You can follow me on all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at John Coaxum LPC. Until next time, remember, you are always communicating. The question is, what message are you sending? I'll see you guys next time on the John Coaxum Podcast. Peace. Live it up, live it